Extraordinary scenes in London tonight as fires, riots and looting spread across large parts of the capital. A massive blaze is burning in Croydon in South London after a furniture store was set alight. The latest violence began this afternoon in Hackney in East London when police were attacked with rocks and missiles. It soon spread south to Lewisham and Peckham, where shops and cars were set on fire. And this was the scene in Birmingham tonight as the violence spread outside the capital for the first time since the trouble erupted on Saturday.
Let me be absolutely clear. Those responsible for this violence and looting will be made to face the consequences of their actions.
Counting the cost in Tottenham in North London, where it all began, businesses lost and homes destroyed.
Just couldn't believe it. Our building was going up in flames. And it was like, 10 minutes longer in that building and we would have been dead.
And in the last hour, the Prime Minister has confirmed that he is cutting short his holiday and flying home. Also tonight, share prices across the world continue to fall despite efforts from President Obama to calm fears about America's economy.
Markets will rise and fall, but this is the United States of America. No matter what some agency may say, we've always been and always will be a AAA country.
Syria's President Assad stands firm as his Arab neighbours call on him to stop killing his civilians. And how the economic downturn is taking its toll on Britain's summer music festivals.
And on BBC London, day 3 of rioting in the capital, we have eyewitness accounts from around the city, plus the latest on the policing operation live from New Scotland Yard.
Good evening. Fires are burning across large parts of London tonight as more serious violence breaks out on the streets of the capital for the third night in a row. The latest trouble started in Hackney in the east of the city late this afternoon before spreading to Lewisham, Peckham and now in the last hour to Croydon in South London. And these are the latest pictures live from Croydon, where a furniture store has been ablaze for at least an hour now. For the first time since the trouble began on Saturday, the violence has also flared outside the capital in Birmingham. The Home Secretary, Theresa May, has called the attacks sheer criminality and said those behind it will be brought to justice. In the last hour, it has been confirmed that the Prime Minister, David Cameron, is cutting short his holiday and flying home tonight. Our first report is from our Home Affairs correspondent, June Kelly.
The smoke is a signal of the mayhem in the distance. The death of a man in one part of London has triggered a wave of violence in neighbourhoods in the north and south of the capital. In Hackney, the disturbances began in the early evening. The police said they would have more officers on the streets of London tonight, and here they moved in force. So all around this area, the cordons are now going up. For the second night running, we've got copycat acts of violence. This is what the police feared, what they're calling pure criminality. This group are looting an off-licence, one of them carrying away a whole box full of drink, a shopkeeper's livelihood slowly being removed. And tonight, to the south of London, this was Croydon, a furniture store in flames. And this was the view of one local eyewitness.
They don't care. I've never seen such a disregard for human life. Nice little anarchists, I hope they have a nice little party, I hope they rot in hell. Because the grief they have caused people, the fear they've put in people's hearts, decent people who have done nothing to anyone, and the fear in them.
This is an area which is miles from the shooting which has triggered this unimagined spiral of violence.
Let's be absolutely clear that there is no excuse for violence, there is no excuse for looting, there is no excuse for thuggery. The police will obviously deal with any emerging situations as they consider best appropriate for those situations. But I am absolutely clear there is no excuse for looters or thuggery or violence on the streets.
In Peckham, a clothes store was being turned over, people helping themselves as others looked on. A bus was burnt out. Police were guarding a supermarket, but they couldn't stop a pharmacy being attacked. And from the country's most senior police officer, an appeal for help in stopping the law-breaking.
We have a a lot of police officers on duty. But I do urge now that parents start contacting their children and asking where their children are. There are far too many spectators who are getting in the way of the police operations to tackle criminal thuggery and burglary. And I'm imploring that people within those communities actually start clearing the streets to enable my police officers to deal with the criminality that is occurring in front of them.
In a development which will alarm police and politicians, tonight the trouble moved outside London. This was Birmingham, vandals and looters out in the city centre. Social media has played a massive part in the spread of information. Police have warned that anyone inciting violence through social networking sites could face prosecution. The technology company BlackBerry has said it will try to assist the authorities in tracking down the troublemakers. A fatal shooting by police last Thursday has become the trigger for an unimagined chain of destruction. The sense of crisis is underlined by the Prime Minister's decision to cut short his holiday and return home. June Kelly, BBC News.
Well, the rioting began in Tottenham in North London on Saturday after what was meant to be a peaceful protest following the death of a local man who was shot dead by police. Our special correspondent, Alan Little, has spent the day there as residents and local traders count the cost of the violence.
2 days ago, this was someone's home. 26 families lived in the flats here above a carpet shop. The building teetered all day on the edge of collapse. Tottenham, where the violence began on Saturday, can even now scarcely believe what has happened. Rosie Patusa lived here. She escaped with her life, but lost everything else.
There was another neighbour trying to get out the building, you know, we were just like in such a panic. And then we got outside and then I saw the building, there had flames going up the building. You know, and it was just black smoke coming billowing down from the corner of the high road. You know, 10 minutes longer in that building and we would have been dead.
Nishe Mofuankolo opened his bar and restaurant, the Pride of Tottenham, only in December. He came to check it in the early hours of Sunday and found looters ransacking it. One had a knife. Terrified, Nishe escaped through an upstairs window.
If they come and attack me here, I'm in pure danger.
He climbed down the drain pipe to get away.
I could see on that angle, and he had a knife. That's why I just went quite quietly upstairs.
Were you scared?
I was really scared. I think for me, honestly, on that time I was thinking that maybe it's the end of my life.
The Deputy Prime Minister came to Tottenham this afternoon to listen. The voices he heard were polite, patient, eloquent, but angry.
As Deputy Prime Minister, can I ask you, is this like what's going to happen in England now because of cuts and, you know, people's homes are going to be burnt and suddenly made homeless?
No, I don't think so.
Why weren't we protected?
Yeah, we had to get our own salesperson. We left the flat as the rioters were coming up the road and the buildings were on fire, and we legged the flat and we didn't see one police person.
And the fire engines couldn't be there because the police weren't there to protect them, but there was nobody there to protect us.
This is the image of London that has flashed around the world today, not what the city wants less than a year before the world gathers here for the Olympic Games. So the capital city's police force has two urgent questions to answer now. What was the sequence of events that led to Mark Dougan's death? And how did a peaceful protest get out of hand so quickly and lead to this?
Mark Dougan was shot dead by police on Thursday. His family do not believe that he was armed or that he opened fire first. On Saturday there was a small peaceful demonstration of his supporters. Within hours, Tottenham was in flames. How? Tottenham is a poor borough, but not the poorest. It has a history of tension between the police and some parts of the community. But no one here now believes that the violence that is sweeping the capital has anything to do with Mark Dougan's death. His own friends and family have condemned it.
Violence isn't, if people just continue doing it, it ain't going to heal the pain. Fair enough, I know families and that need answers, but it isn't the right way to go about it.
Tonight, Tottenham's infamous new landmark is coming down, but the flames that started here are spreading and the emergency goes on. And the question